How are you, Mr. Dittler?
I am fantastic. I just got in from a run, so I'm
Good.
dripping wet.
Oh,
But that's it. I'm great.
good. I just came in from walking my dogs.
All right.
And I've been fretting to make sure that this thing goes right. How's that?
Yes, Albert.
Oh, no, I was just saying that I was just fretting to make sure that this thing goes right. Okay, we have some more people in the waiting room.
You can set it up by clicking on participants and saying enable everyone to come in. There they are.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Woody. Hey, Woody, how are you?
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. And hey, Doug, did you happen to get on the task force meeting today? I tried to link into the task force this afternoon.
No, I didn't know anything about it.
Oh, all right. I tried to get on. It was a Microsoft one, and I just.
I'm not on the task force.
Oh, okay.
I would like to be, but I'm not.
All right. I have another person coming in right now. Right. More people are coming in.
There we go.
Yeah, we're quickly getting populated here. Claudia.
Hello, Albert. Hello, everybody.
How are you?
Oh, I love your sci-fi background there.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Is that the Millennium Falcon? Huh?
Oh, are you unmuted? Hi, Josephine. Hi, Annie.
Hi, Albert. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Albert. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, Josephine.
Hi, Les.
Hey, Joseph.
All right. I think we're going to give this a few more minutes. People are kind of coming in now.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, so many new people, so many different people.
I see Paula with the panda.
Panda?
Yep, that's my background.
Is that a real panda?
Well, actually, it is. I hugged a panda. His name's Yumi when I was in China in 2017.
I love it.
Is it legal?
Looks a little bit like my puppy, only my puppy's white, but he has that face.
And he's not the same size as you.
Paul's got a nice.
Yeah, really. My puppy's this big.
And everyone, a lot of people have nice backgrounds. Just my office is so cluttered. I couldn't stand to have people see it. So
now we see your panda in the background.
Why not?
Oh, this is great. It's good to see everybody. How are we doing on time here? Okay, let's just give it like another minute or two, and then we'll get started with the meeting.
Would we get a little more notice next time? I didn't get notice for this meeting until like 3 hours ago.
I sent you one previously.
It didn't have the date on it. The one that I got where we did all the ideas, it just said our next meeting in June, and I emailed you saying, what's the date? And then I found out about 4 hours ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there was an earlier one on Monday or so.
Yeah. Well, chalk that up to an experience in
Internet.
organizing one of these things online.
Well, if we're going to do it on our regular days, then we'll all know, and you send out the agenda in advance and stuff.
I'll
You
get
can
a-
never remind people of too much for these kind of things.
Okay. Hi, Al. How you doing?
Hey, Al, we're doing well, thanks. Yourself?
Very good. Very good.
Wonderful.
Thanks for coming in. Peter, good to see you.
Do a lot of people know they're muted?
Um,
Is that intentional?
they,
Doug and Woody and, well, it says and, but that's not, about a third of the people are muted.
yeah. I think we're all kind of learning as we go here. Filing in right now.
That's
Wear
right.
masks?
Let's all wear face masks. A good idea.
I thought that was the whole purpose.
We're 6 feet apart at least.
I think
At least
it's a
we're
good
6 feet apart,
protocol.
I guess you could say.
I'm 60 miles apart.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold this sign up for people. Doug? Doug?
Oh, very good, Paul.
I gotta get it. Hold on, I gotta get a picture of that. Do that again, Paul. Paula. Paula, talk for a minute. Talk.
Doug, Doug's unmuted now.
Okay.
No, I'm muted. I'm muting myself so we don't have background noise for
Oh,
everyone.
okay.
I think it's a good idea for everyone to mute themselves if they're not talking. Otherwise, we're going to have feedback and weird stuff going on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to do? Everyone mute themselves?
Okay. Well,
Albert can also click a button to mute everybody at once.
right. Now, I'm just going to say hello and interesting to see everybody in the little tiny tiles here. It's really great to see all of your faces. I hope everyone is well. And, it's been a hard road. I'm sure that some of you have had full closure and some of you have had to, had some level of operation, but in either case, it looks like things are starting to get back slowly on board starting next week. So anyway, I want to go ahead and start the meeting now. I'd like to firstly introduce Robert Middleton Robert, what was your name of your company again?
Action Plan Marketing.
Marketing. Now, Robert's been in business for 20 years, and he does exclusively B2B consulting to professionals to find ways to have them get more clients and more success with less effort. And we brought Robert along today so that he can help us with tips and ideas to help us work better and more efficiently and more successfully in this new environment. So I'd like to give Robert the floor right now.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Albert. So I got a call from my past client, Robert Diddler, last week with Albert. And he said, could you talk? And I said, well, I'm not really a retail consultant, but here's some ideas. And I talked for a while and they said, well, if you just said that, I think that would be great. So I said, okay, well, I could do that. I've given a lot of talks. And by the way, Albert, I've actually been in business for 35 years. I started my business in San Francisco in 1984, then moved to Palo Alto in 1995. And then 2002, I moved to Boulder Creek. So I've been running a virtual business in the Santa Cruz Redwoods for the last 18 years. And I've worked with every kind of small business you can imagine. And actually, my very first business, before I came to California, I lived in Calgary, Canada. I'm Canadian. And I owned a health food store. So I'm familiar with a lot of different kinds of small businesses. So Albert and Robert wanted me to share some of my ideas and perspectives and get some of your take on it as well. So before I do that, No, I know a lot of people like we can't see you. If you want to make it so we can see you, that would be great, and you don't have to. But who here has a retail store where you sell products? Put your hand up. Okay, just a couple. Who has a restaurant? Okay. Who has another kind of business, another kind of service business or something? Why don't you you can go to your screen and unmute yourself. Just tell me what kind of business. Not a long explanation, but I sell blah, 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 blah. I just want to get a sense. And even the people that are muted, they could just speak up. I'd like to hear what kind of businesses are attending today.
Or maybe just type in the text box.
Yeah, you could do that as well. But fine if you just say it out loud.
I'm Pam, and I'm a religious leader. I'm the rabbi of a Jewish congregation in our neighborhood.
Okay. Great. Okay,
I'm
who else?
I'm Josephine. I am a founder of some nonprofits serving mostly the Chinese and immigrant communities.
Okay, great. And
Who has all kinds of businesses, retails on Irving, restaurants on Taraval.
okay, great. Who else would like to share?
I'm Les, and I'm an internet marketing consultant.
Okay. Do you work virtually like I do?
No, I go both ways. No, I work locally, Bay Area.
Yep.
But I do have clients like all over the world, so.
Okay, I can relate to that. When I moved to Boulder Creek, I had a big email list, and so I don't have any local clients. They're all over the place. Anyway, so East Coast, West Coast, Europe, everywhere. So we all, so for your business, opening up is a very different situation than a restaurant opening up or a retail shop opening up, of course. So here's the thing to think about. Many of us have had our businesses closed for 3.5 months, right? And business, maybe you were finding some way to do some business, but now things are opening up a little bit more. And so right now, it really is an amazing opportunity to market yourself. It's the best opportunity you will ever have in your life to market yourself, because it's a unique opportunity. And if you don't do anything, you're missing an opportunity. I've been doing a lot of reading and talking to people about what they're doing these days. And someone shared a story about the Great Depression back in 1929. And there were a number of cereal companies around, and the biggest cereal company was Post. And there was also Kellogg's and perhaps others. And Post said, well, since the economy is so bad, and since people have to go to the store and buy cereal anyway, what we're going to do is stop all our advertising. And what Kellogg's did was the exact opposite. They said, here's an opportunity, especially since Post and other people are stopping their advertising, to increase our advertising. So they doubled their advertising expenditure. So everyone's heard of Kellogg's. They are the cereal that dominates the market, but Post, they do still sell some cereals, but not nearly as much as Kellogg's. Kellogg's is a gigantic multi-billion-dollar corporation. And the turnaround for them was during the Depression, when they took the opportunity to really get out there. Now, we don't have big advertising budgets, most of us. I certainly don't. But I just want to share a couple of things I did, and I'll share some ideas of what you might do. I have a decent-sized email list of about 22,000 people. So what I've been doing for more than 20 years is sending an email newsletter with ideas about marketing. So I call that keep in touch marketing. And I've discovered that keep in touch marketing is one of the most powerful marketing in the world. I send a newsletter and I don't sell. I just give information. I'm being of service. Here's an idea about marketing. Here's an idea about selling. Here's an idea about how you can communicate effectively about your service. Here's ideas about, you name it. I've written 1,000 email newsletters in the last 20 years. 1 a week, 50 a year. So, but then when I have a program or a service that I want to offer, then I send to my list and I say, hey, I have a new service. Go to this link and learn about it. And then they read about it online and people sign up for it. And so I've generated a lot of business without meeting anybody. I mean, I call it going radically virtual. I don't go and do networking. I used to do a lot of speaking before this, but I don't do that anymore. But I give interviews. I do this kind of thing every once in a while. I talk to a lot of people on the phone. I meet with people on Zoom. I have meetings. I have free introductory Zoom meetings like this. I do that kind of stuff. And it generates as much business as I need. Most of my business is group programs for self-employed professionals and also some one-on-one consulting and coaching that I do. So the pandemic hit and I thought, well, you know, I'm okay. I just filled a program that was about to start. I was going to be okay. But I said, look, this is a time where people are hurting. So I said, I'm going to do something to serve. And I said, I'm going to put on a webinar every 2 weeks. And for 3 months, I did that. I put on 6 of them and it was free. I just wanted to show that I'm here. I'm of service. I have resources. I have ideas. I'm here to help you and brainstorm with you. And we had these really fun webinars. So we had as many as 100 people on them. And we just talked about different things, how to be in touch with people at this time, how to set up meetings by email, how to develop materials at this time, et cetera, that kind of thing. So what I've noticed a lot of people do in a time like this is like, well, no one's coming into my store, nothing's happened. Instead of being in communication, we drop out of communication. And that's the exact opposite of what we should be doing. But let me know, but I don't know, maybe you've been doing it. So who's been finding ways to stay in touch with their clientele through Zoom, through email, through phone calls, that kind of thing? Anybody doing any of that? So if you're not, one of the very first things, if I was in your place, I would start building an email newsletter, an email list. Sending out an email newsletter is not rocket science. There are probably 10,000 consultants that could help you do it. It's not that hard to do. When people come into your place of business, you say, I'm starting a newsletter. I'm going to send out on a regular basis. Can I get your email? And I'll send you updates and ideas and things I'm doing, et cetera, every once in a while. You do not have to be the world's greatest writer to do this. You just have to be authentic and sincere and share about stuff you're doing, some things you're working on, specials in your business. Now, have you noticed that your email box around COVID-19 the last few months has been more full than ever? Have you been getting more emails than ever before? Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of smart marketers are stepping up and they're sending stuff out. They're saying, hey, we're figuring out new ways to do this. Here's our new business hours. We're doing this virtually. No, we're not doing it virtually, but if we're a restaurant, we're doing delivery. For instance, we don't have a lot of restaurants up here in the middle of Boulder Creek and Ben Lomond, but we have a few, and we have a great restaurant called Casa Nostra. It's an Italian restaurant, great restaurant. They're doing great business by doing delivery and pickup. Just a ton of business. They just put a plan together. They communicated with social media. We have some good social media channels in the area and said, hey, we're open. If you want this, this is what we do. They have signs on the front, pickup only. And they generated a lot of business that way. They never stopped. Now, maybe it wasn't as much as before. They're a very successful, very full restaurant, but it didn't stop them. and they're open for business starting this weekend with some social distancing and precautions, which I'll talk about in a minute. So this concept of keep in touch marketing, you know, I learned it from a book by J. Conrad Levinson, I don't know, 30 years ago. He said, do a newsletter, stay in touch with people so they don't forget about you. You know, we live in a competitive world. There are a lot of businesses around, a lot of businesses that want your customers. And if you're not in front of them and communicating about them, then your marketing is what I call passive marketing. So passive marketing is we're here, we have a storefront, and I hope you drop by. I also call it the prayer method of marketing. The rabbi might relate to that. You know, we pray, we do the best we can, and we just hope people keep coming back to our store. But, you know, as a self-employed professional that never had a storefront for the last 35 years, I figured I had to get in front of people. So I did a lot of networking, I did a lot of speaking. But when I moved to Boulder Creek, you know, people would not drive up the 25 minutes up a windy road to get to my house in Boulder Creek. So I had to be out there by email and communicate to people that way. And it was very, very effective. So, you know, I often gave this example. Was anyone here a florist? Do we have any florists in the group, Albert?
We have an artist, but Peter, you might want to, Peter, you need to unmute yourself.
Don't worry about it. So, but everybody understands what a florist is. So you imagine a florist and someone comes by and he buys a bouquet of roses. And the florist said, oh, those look great.
Excuse me, Robert. Robert, hold on one sec. I think Peter has something he wanted to say.
No, I just was saying that I was a florist for a while. If I'm
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So everybody knows what that business is, obviously. So you buy the flowers, and then usually that's it. You're on your way, and you hope they come back someday. But a smart florist would do this. They would say, are those for your wife's birthday? No, it's our anniversary. Is it today? Yes, it is. You like to give flowers on the anniversary? And yeah, I do. And he said, look, I offer a free service. And it's a free reminder service. And I have a little system here. And you can create a reminder system like this. Someone could set it up with you on a computer. And I'll put your name in, and I'll put your wife's name, and I'll put a date. And when that date comes around, I'll send you an email to just remind you and show you some gift options. Now, 100% wouldn't sign up for it, but why not? And so then the anniversary rolls around, and there you have it. Well, is that the only time you give flowers to your wife? No, you give flowers to your wife on perhaps Mother's Day if you have kids, your birthday, of course, and Christmas, Easter. I mean, there's a lot of times to give flowers. So you could find out a little bit more about your clients. And the florist is just the example. And you could say, you know, when do you like to give flowers? And then you put a little reminder into the computer, and it pops up every day. And there's the reminders. Send out the email automatically. You could even do that with a 1 through 31 tickler file, not even on a computer. You have a card, it goes in the slot. On that day, you open it up, and those are the people that you're in touch with, you give a call or send an email to. You know, I used to do this kind of thing, you know, how to be in touch with people, how to stay in touch with people so they don't forget you. Pretty simple. So, you know, one reason I'm here talking is Robert Dittler has been on my list for some time. You know, Robert was on my list. I did a project with him over 30 years ago, Robert, right? And then I bumped into him at a party for a friend of a friend's. How many years ago was that? Can't remember, it was 5 or 10 years ago. Gotta unmute yourself. Put your mouse over the screen.
He's never been short for words. It's amazing.
Can you unmute him, Robert? Albert Chow?
I'm asking him to unmute.
No, the mouse battery just died. Amen. Yeah, no, that was at Usha's about 4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago? Yeah,
Yeah.
time flies here. So anyway, so I gave him my card and he got back on my email list. And so he's been getting stuff ever since. And I didn't even know he was on my list. I have thousands of people. I don't even know who they are. So an email list, a client database, is my most valuable business possession. If I don't have it, I am out of business, period. But with it, I could live in South Africa and market myself. I could do it from anywhere. So, you know, if you're a store, whatever your store is, you think, well, what could I send people on a regular basis? What could I do? So I would suggest everyone do that. Every business should have an email list. You know, before the email list, I used to send print newsletters. We'd print them up. I had a list of 600 people. It was printed 2 sides and folded. And I would print out the labels from my computer, from my database, and I would sit at my coffee table while I watched TV, and I'd print the labels and I'd stick a stamp on them. And every time I mailed them out, it cost me $600. You know, it was a lot of money. And then email newsletters came around. One of my clients was doing it. I said, this sounds a pretty good idea. And after a few years, I was sending 10, 20, 30,000 emails, and it was costing me $20 a month. I mean, it's the most inexpensive advertising on planet Earth. And yet why more people take advantage of it, I don't know. You know, technical things stop you. You don't know what to write. Well, get help with it. There's people that can help you with that. It really is worth the investment. For the cost of one mailing, you could set up something that was amazing, that you could use for years and years and years. So I've helped a lot of people do that and showing people to do that, and it's really helped them. Okay. So,
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So the experience with emailing is basically every time that we blast, there are a bunch of people that unsubscribed because information overloading. So
yeah, I have unsubscribers all the time. And I have new subscribers all the time. I never take it personally.
Can I add something
It used
there?
to be like a dagger in the heart. Oh, they don't like me. Oh, what the heck?
Can I add something there?
Yeah.
In our synagogue, we have a rhythm of mailing once a week. And if we go over that, we also get unsubscribers and we get people who get real irritated. But if we stick to our rhythm, it works.
Yep.
And so sometimes like we miss, you know, something comes in right after and we wish we could send it, but we just eat it because of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, when I'm doing promotions, I was sending more emails for the past 3 months, but now I'm back to normal once a week pretty much. But, you know, it's kind of funny, you know, it's like you're cluttering my email box, where you can do this to delete it. It's not a big effort. I delete emails all day. It's not a big effort, but you know. Anyway, so, but now you're opening up. What are you gonna do? Well, if you don't have a list, you can't announce anything, but I have a few ideas for you. For the thing that I talked about when I was talking to Robert and Albert the other day is, you want to stand out right now as being considerate of your clients during COVID-19 and let them know that you're doing everything possible to keep them safe. And this is something that I would suggest you get together as a group and create some kind of a plan for this. And I'll show you something that I saw on 60 Minutes this week. Funny thing, Robert, you know, you talked to me and that evening I watched 60 Minutes. It was like, oh, perfect idea. It always happens. So, few things. I would clean your retail store space and make it look like the neatest, cleanest place on planet Earth. People want to go into clean spaces. If it looks dirty, dirty to people equals germs. Germs equals possibly COVID-19. I would have a policy for some time to wear masks in your store, to wear face masks. You know, get a nice, elaborate, beautiful face mask, you know, do something like that. I would have stations where you can have sanitizer. You know, people do this here. They have that at, Trader Joe's and our local health food store. You go in, they actually have a hand sanitizer that they fitted with a foot pump. You press it, there's a bottle, it squeezes the hand sanitizer into your hand. It's brilliant. Whoever thought of that? You know, they're thinking of you. They're sanitizing the baskets. They're doing everything they possibly can to show, hey, we're being safe. They put plastic barriers between the cashiers and the customers. You've seen that perhaps at Costco and other places. I've seen it in a number of different places. So you want to say, yeah, hey, we're being considerate and we're trying to be safe so that you will want to come to your store, because a lot of people, I don't want to go to a lot of stores. I don't go to a lot of retail stores anyway, but I do go to food stores and I do go to Costco and I do go things like that. And I appreciate the efforts that they make to keep it safe. They have people at the door, for instance, in Trader Joe's, they only let a certain number of people in the store at a time to control the social distancing. But they talk to you at the door. How are you doing today? So glad you came by. How you coping? So I don't know if you can set that up, but you could have a sign. Hey, this is what we're doing to keep the store safe. We want your business and we'll do everything we can to serve you right now. What do you need? Now, let me just show you something. Hopefully this will work. This is the sign that I saw. Everyone should be able to see this. This is what Greater San Antonio business owners are doing. They got together as a group. You know, I discovered that San Antonio is bigger than San Francisco. Did you know that? It's the 7th biggest city in the United States. It's a huge city. So this is what they all pledged to do. Use face coverings, practice physical distancing, conduct temperature checks. Now that's a little trickier, but now they have these amazing thermometers where you point at someone's forehead for about 5 seconds and it tells the temperature. And if they've got a fever, you say you should see your doctor. It's a service to them. And you can have fun with that. You don't have to make it grim and awful, but that's one you may or may not choose to do. Provide hand sanitizer, follow CDC cleaning protocols. So you got to ask, well, what are CDC cleaning protocols? Well, look it up. It won't be hard to find online in about a minute. CDC cleaning protocols for retail establishments. You're going to find a checklist. Implement contactless payment when possible, i.e. credit card versus cash, so you don't have to touch people. And train employees in general COVID-19 awareness. If you do this kind of thing, people are going to feel a lot more confident coming to your store. But if you do it as a community, so I don't know, you've got to figure a way to do it. You might go store to store and say, hey, would you like to do the pledge? And if you do the pledge, we'll give you this sign. And everybody will feel, oh, well, this is something happening in our community. You know, if everybody saw this, this is something happening. We're getting together. We're working to keep people safe. That's going to draw people into the store. Make sense?
That is great. Thank you. Yes.
That is a good idea. Just to let you know, I have ordered about 45 of those contactless thermometers, and they are very hard to get a hold of right now.
I'll bet they are.
Watching stuff is hard.
Masks are easier to get now. I see on the internet, every page of the internet is selling masks.
Yes.
But yeah.
But some of those things are going to take a little time to get online or get in the pipeline right now. I've as a hardware store, that's all I've been doing the last 3 months is trying to get all this PPE. and it's been very problematic. But masks are coming online, hand sanitizers are coming online.
Right.
Those thermometers, I imagine restaurants probably more than other businesses might be more interested in those things. Doug has spoken to me about it, and like I said, I've got some on order. Just FYI.
And Pops could create its own mask that we could distribute to the, Pops, a good mask to advertise.
You
Say
could.
hello.
Yeah, they're not necessarily expensive to do.
No, cheap.
Yeah, really. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities, but the whole idea of the community chipping in and being in touch with people and showing, hey, we really care about this and we're doing everything we can and being serious about it. We need to remember that this pandemic, although we're trying to open and cases are going down, in San Francisco and in New York, et cetera, it's not over. And a lot of people don't feel safe still. And so it's going to have an impact on business for a long time. This is why, I've created various systems and acronyms in my business over the years. And two of the most important ones are two V's: visibility and value. Visibility is getting out there and communicating, doing whatever you can in your community to show that, hey, we're here, we survived, we're being of service, we're trying to find out what's wanted and needed, we're here for you, and we're visible. The other is value. Someone else said, we don't have the same job that we had 3 months ago. You might have the same store, but you don't have the same job. You have to be doing your business somewhat differently than you used to. See, I'm doing it somewhat differently. I'm communicating more. I'm doing more webinars. I'm creating more marketing materials. I'm coming up with creative ideas. Something that I did is I got together with, I compiled a list of 30 of my past most successful, smartest customer clients that have been in my programs over the years. People that were just starting out 10 years ago. Many of them making multi-$100,000 businesses now. They're very successful. They're very busy. But I said, you know what? I haven't tapped into that community. Sure, they're on my email list. Why don't I tap into that community? So I sent them an email and said, hey, I'm doing a webinar and I want to get your ideas. What do you think is really important right now for me and my business and our kinds of businesses as self-employed professionals? I got 75% responded, 18 showed up for a webinar, and we had a great conversation with so many good ideas of what we need to do right now, some of which I'm sharing with you as we speak. So this possibility of community has opened up for me like it never has before. Self-employed people are often kind of insular people. We like to do our own thing. We keep our own counsel. We're very creative. We do our own stuff. And, that's fine as far as it goes. But I've also seen, for me, in many ways, it's the biggest mistake I've ever made. Not tapping into my network, asking for their advice, doing surveys, finding out what people are looking for. Because otherwise, how do you really know what to offer people? So you might put together some kind of a survey that you give to clients, or maybe it's a simple one online. Has anyone heard of SurveyMonkey?
Yes.
If you're in the online world, you know about all this stuff. But SurveyMonkey is a survey company, and you can set up a 10-question or less questionnaire for free. So you can give them a link and go to SurveyMonkey, and you can ask up to 10 questions. What would you like us to do? What services or products would you like to offer right now? What can we do differently? And you'll get some good ideas. I also just ask people on my email list. Now, I'm doing a lot of this. I sometimes take it for granted. It just seems to come natural. But I said, what do you need right now? And I got tons of responses, and I've been compiling them and looking at how I can add those suggestions into my programs. If we're living in a vacuum, that might seem safe, living in a bubble, but you want to get outside of your bubble and think, what are people looking for? What do they need? What's important to them? And don't assume that the way business is done before is the way we can do business now. The people that do not adapt will die, will go out of business. It's just how it works. You know, in the Depression, a lot of businesses went out of business, but also a lot of businesses like Kellogg's and many others figured out how to be competitive in this time. And, you know, some businesses are simply going to have a harder time than others. It's just the nature of the beast. You know, if you're a movie theater, what the hell do you do now? I don't know. That's a really, really challenging thing. But if I was a movie theater, I would be brainstorming with people. I would be doing whatever I could. I would be, I don't know, to get people, some people back in the seats, perhaps. I don't know.
Balboa Theater is selling popcorn 2 or 3 nights a week.
Selling a lot of popcorn. Yeah, after all, that's a really good point. Sometimes we forget that movie theaters make more money on refreshments than they do on the movies. They actually do. So why not turn into a retail establishment selling a lot of popcorn? Or there's endless numbers of creative ideas.
Thinking outside of the box. We have to think outside of the box of what we've been doing. Whatever we've been doing isn't going to work. Out of the box.
You know, one of the things that I really appreciate about the internet, a lot of things, you know, I wouldn't be in business like I am if it wasn't for the internet, but I am always searching on Google for ideas. Always, always, always. What are retail people doing? What are creative ideas for retail during the pandemic? Pandemic retail ideas. If you do that, I promise you will find 500 articles or more. You don't need to read 500, but 5 or 6 or 10, I promise you'll come up with some good ideas that you just, wow, that's a good idea. Never thought of that. Why don't I try it? Share those with the group. Here's a new, interesting, creative thing we can do. We need to be more creative than we've ever been before. We need to work harder than we ever have before. You know, you might, I don't know if you've got streaming services, but I don't get broadcast TV anymore. I got tired of the commercials, but I get Amazon Prime and I get CBS All Access and I get Netflix. So I get 60 Minutes, and that's what I was watching the other day. You know, that last week's episode was about how one restaurateur was dealing with it and what she was going to do. And she was a very successful restaurant, but it had decimated her business, but she was about to get started again. And, you know, they were still in business, and they were creating food for homeless people that the government was paying them for. They weren't nearly making as much money, but they were staying busy and finding a way to keep their head above the water. So I hope this has been useful. Any questions or comments or ideas that you'd like to share?
Opening up the floor.
This is Woody LaBounty from San Francisco Heritage. I just want to offer, that was great, by the way. I really appreciated all the ideas. I thought those were all very helpful. But we're a nonprofit that's focused on San Francisco's culture and physical environment. And we have picked the Parkside as a particular area of focus for the month of July. So I will help in any way I can with all the businesses and all the people, nonprofits, with POPs in any way I can to amplify whatever great idea you've come up with tonight, any fundraising, any GoFundMe, any sort of deal or pickup or delivery service you might have. Send it to me. I'll send Albert to help use our base of people to amplify anything you're doing to help you get through this time. And like I said, we're especially doing it in the month of July. So
great, thank you.
Great.
Good. Thank you, Woody.
There are so many people out there doing great things. Great things, volunteer organizations, feeding people, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it might be a nice idea, like taking on Woody's idea there. What if we all can use our cell phones and take pictures of us in front of our stores, you know, maybe with a sign saying, hey, open for business, here for you, something like that. Just Woody can put a collage together and advertise and put that out so that everyone knows who is open for business.
And follow that up with a half page or a full page ad in the Sunset Beacon. That with all of our pictures there.
Michael Durant, the owner of Sunset Beacon, just gave a 50% discount.
Yeah, and if you do something together, it's not going to cost you a ridiculous amount of money.
No, not at all. I'll follow up by sending out an email to Pop's businesses and whoever is going to be reopening. I'll get a list of everybody and I'll see if we can do something and advertise it. And as well, if everyone can take pictures and send it to me, I can forward it to Woody, or I'll get Woody. I'll get your contact, and they can send their photos to you directly.
And, you know, depending on the kind of business, you want to think of what are some special offers or something special that you can give away that's fun, interesting, and different that can get people into your store, get people to respond to you.
The 10% discount of whatever.
Yeah. The COVID-19 discount, whatever. And, you know.
Woody just sent out an email, by the way, everybody. Okay. Robert Middleton, I think we're a little bit past time, and I wanted to say thank you. I've got a couple other people in the queue, but I really appreciate all your ideas.
Thank you.
I think everyone can make use of some of this stuff, and we can find new ways to operate in this new environment.
Okay.
Would it be okay, Robert, if we share your contact information with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look, if you want to, let me just tell you, my website is actionplan.club, not .com, but .club.
Oh.
And if you want to get on my email list, fine. You know, I have a lot of marketing ideas that are applicable to everybody, even though my clients are self-employed professionals.
Got it.
Mostly B2B professionals, but you're welcome to get on the list. And, you know, every Tuesday, like clockwork, I send it out.
Okay.
And there's a lot of cool ideas, stuff, you know, that it's really, I enjoy getting them on Tuesday. So, yes, thank you.
You can hardly imagine living without it.
Amen.
All right. Thank you, Robert Middleton, very much.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Good luck to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm out of here.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Daisy from Gordon Mar's office. I'd like to have you come on. Thanks for waiting, by the way. We ran a little long there. And you had some announcements for businesses getting restarted from City Hall.
Yeah, thanks, Albert. I'm actually going to be pretty brief, kind of with the updates, just starting with how to best keep updated with what the city's doing, what we've been doing citywide, and then some of the work that we've been doing district-wide. And then I really want to spend kind of the rest of the time maybe answering some questions and taking some questions back, so more of a discussion. So just really briefly, I know there has been a lot going on and there's a lot of information out there. And so what I really want to get across for folks, even if they're a business or not, is all the information can be found on our city website, sf.gov. It is, updated daily for when changes happen. And then with respect to small businesses, the Office of Economic and Workforce Development website, they've been really good about getting the information up as soon as possible for small businesses when the grants go up, when the loan applications go up, when state, things change at the state level. That information is updated very frequently on those websites. Additionally, the Office of Small Business, their newsletters are very timely in terms of getting the information out. And then from our office, I think most of you are getting the District 4 Small Business Corridor emails that my colleague Jenny Huang has been sending. But if you haven't been receiving those, please let me know. That is where, the moment we get the press announcement, for shared spaces, we are zipping off that email to the corridors. So those are kind of the main ways to get the most up-to-date information. I know it's really overwhelming, and I know it changes very quickly, and I know there are a lot of questions. But if you go to those resources first, a lot of it is already there. I know it's been a long time since POPS has kind of met as a group. I know I've seen many of your faces throughout, but just going over citywide updates very briefly. When the shelter in place first started, the city immediately, had the commercial eviction moratorium as well as the deferments for business registration and license fees. So those are still two things that are still in place to support small businesses as we continue to shelter. You may have seen that we have put several pots of funding for small businesses through grants like the SF Resiliency Fund and SF Help. There is a new round of funding, so the application is open. And there were other specific kinds of grants targeting women entrepreneurs and minority entrepreneurs, targeting certain underserved neighborhoods. Again, all of that information is at the OEWD website as soon as they are out, and we email those out as soon as they open. I'm sure you guys talked about the Shared Spaces program. That application is out, and so let me know if you don't know how to get to the link, but I can send that over, and happy to answer any questions, although I will be referring to the same website that you would be referring to. And then lastly, we do, as a city, provide legal services. So, if you are having trouble negotiating with your landlord, or if you just have other legal questions, the city has partnered with legal services for entrepreneurs and the SF Bar Association, as well as the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. So if you just need access to low and no cost legal services as you're going through this time, again, that information is at OED. And then finally, we have the Economic Recovery Task Force. I think Albert sits on it. You guys just had your second meeting, but funnel a lot of your ideas and information through a representative like in our office, or Albert, who sits on the task force. These meetings that are happening monthly really do inform how the city plans to reopen successfully. And then I'll just finally go through our District 4 updates before closing out and just kind of having a discussion. We began, shelter in place with a couple small business meetings and listening sessions. Some of you were in that. We had staff from Office of Economic and Workforce Development answering questions. We just had last week a commercial renters workshop. So we did bring in some attorneys who could answer questions about the eviction moratorium, as well as how to look at private contracts and negotiate for lease adjustments. And then we had our town hall on economic recovery. That was co-hosted by Assessor Recorder Carmen Chu and the CEO of the San Francisco Chamber, Rodney Fong. They both sit on the Economic Recovery Task Force. And then we did have some small business owners speaking at that town hall as well. Legislatively, we did pass a resolution targeting the business insurance companies. And that was, to advocate for our California State Insurance Commissioner to really be more aggressive in getting the insurance companies to pay out. Now that advocacy continues. The state insurance commissioner has made some modest gains around refunding premiums. We know that's not enough, so we continue to advocate for the insurance commissioner. Supervisor Mar has met with the insurance commissioner, and there is a town hall that is scheduled with the California State Insurance Commissioner and the City of San Francisco, I believe tomorrow. And so, again, that's a continuing effort that we have. And then lastly, on the legislative side, we are looking at fee waivers for small businesses, particularly looking at the registration and license fees. It's going to support most small businesses that were either non-essential or a restaurant or food service. I know it's a modest amount, but we're helping tens of thousands of businesses to support the efforts of reopening, even if it means, just a little bit more for PPE or getting barriers. It's just one less thing to worry about. And so that's legislation that the supervisor plans to introduce next week. And with that, I'll just end and happy to have a discussion. However much time Albert will give me.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Doug.
Yeah, I have two questions. Hey, Daisy.
Hey.
The first is, I got a nice little notice in the mail the other day about minimum wage going up in July.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a pretty bad time to do that, considering we're all trying to open and labor is a lot. Is there any way for us to halt that increase? It's going to affect every single business quite a bit. And I have a second question too, but we'll go there first.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely hear the concern with the annual increase. I haven't heard of efforts to halt it, but that's something that I can bring back.
I know like the GGRA been trying to do it, and I don't know if it went anywhere. I'm not sure where they got that CPI index number from, but whatever, it must have been from last year. The other thing too, just to bring back to Gordon, is I mentioned this before, but as we open, we're supposed to have a partner in DPH. Like, we're supposed to open tomorrow. We're not opening the outside tomorrow because DPH hasn't really sent anything out. They sent some preliminary things out, but they're like the person behind the curtain. They're not visible. I don't have a contact. They don't talk to me. So, in order for this to work correctly, I think there has to be a way for us to give feedback to DPH. Some of the stuff they're going to come out with is probably going to be ridiculous for restaurants and for bars. And some way for us to give feedback and also have a real human to talk to, and not just have, a bunch of PDF emails that say we have to follow this 40-page document that's coming out. I mean, I think it's crazy that it's been announced that people can open up outside tomorrow and they haven't even given any directives of how this will work. So just some feedback for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get you the contact for who you're supposed to, and I'm actually a bit confused about the DPH. Are you talking about for the Shared Spaces Program application, or is this something different?
The Department of Public Health, I'm talking about for giving criteria for bars and for restaurants and what we're supposed to do.
Okay, so you're just, okay, I understand.
Yep.
So the information,
Yep.
You want a person to, talk to about it to get clarification. Is that right?
Right. They leave it out to an owner like, hey, do these things. Oh, train your staff. Yeah. Am I a scientist? I don't think so. Am I a COVID expert? Am I an expert on sanitation and disinfecting? And I mean, I got to be an expert on a lot of things. It's pretty hard as a restaurateur. And I mean, even Albert, right? Train your staff on COVID. I don't know. Maybe Albert is a scientist, but I'm not. So, they've just been absent. They've been absent, and it's pretty frustrating. Maybe they'll come around and inspect us and yell at us later, but they certainly haven't been helping us open.
Okay, I understand. I'll follow up with some of the contact information for folks. And I just, as you can imagine, there's sort of a race to go quickly at the expense of maybe more individualized services, but I completely understand that we kind of just have all these mandates, pages and pages of requirements in order to open, and then just expect businesses to suddenly comply. I think my general sense, though, with enforcement is that they understand the circumstances. and kind of will take that into context around enforcement. And I will get the information for folks and get the feedback that we do need more communication when these decisions get made.
Yeah, it's not the enforcement part, it's the liability part, you know? If somebody, you know, I've been involved in a lot of frivolous lawsuits, so if somebody comes in and gets COVID and tries to claim they got it in your location, and they point to some weird health department thing that was really unclear or wasn't really educated to the merchants, we're all in a lot of trouble, even though we didn't try to do anything wrong, but we misinterpreted a statement or didn't understand something or didn't read something in page 44. So I think that's important for everyone.
I understand.
Yeah, I agree with Doug. This is Jessica. So for NEMS, one of the things that our staff are really struggling with right now is the new social distance protocol. And since I believe everyone has to do it, there's a provision that refers to microwaves and water coolers, like shared spaces when it comes to shared eating spaces. I don't know if maybe other organizations have felt the same way, but for us, we have really struggled with this particular provision of the new social distancing protocol because most of our staff actually bring in their own lunch and use the microwave to heat up their lunch. And then also, you know, we use water heaters and not necessarily water coolers. But if we discontinue that, it's been something that's been really difficult for a lot of our staff to handle. And I wanted to know from you, Daisy, if you've heard of that from other organizations and businesses, or if it's just us. I hope not, because I think it's like a basic human right to be able to have access to food and water. And so I was wondering if you could just kind of help me understand what it is that that DPH is trying to ask for, because as it stands, of course, NEMS wants to be compliant to the health orders. So we're discontinuing the use of microwaves and water coolers for our staff in San Francisco. And that's really caused a lot of concerns. And we've brought it up to DPH and they're checking with the people who've written the ordinances, but it is something that we're very concerned about. So we wanted to see if it's something that we can actually clarify so that we can at least give this little bit of joy left back to our staff.
Yeah, so can you clarify that the issue is you're not sure how social distancing protocol applies to, I guess, communally used spaces like microwaves and hot water heaters?
Absolutely. So it's a new health order that was issued recently, and it is also in the social distancing protocol that was recently revised in June. So it's I've been following the health orders that have been coming out for on behalf of NEMS, and so if you just look at the DPH website when it comes to health orders, it's the first link that talks about social distancing protocol. If you look at page 2, that's where it reads about the microwave usage, that it must be. I know this sounds really wonky. I'm sorry, guys, but like we literally have been asking DPH for weeks now about this, which is like, okay, so it says microwave use and like shared spaces, including microwaves and water coolers, can no longer be used except for microwaves that can be used if it's disinfected between each use and if hand sanitizer is close by. And so it's on page 2 of the updated social distancing protocol that must be posted and distributed to all of our employees, or at least accessible. And so we clarified with the DPH last week, or we tried to, asking what does it mean to disinfect, because we don't know what that means. And they're saying that we have to disinfect not only the outside of the microwave with the handle, but also the inside, which is confusing to us. So we're trying to find clarification now. And we've already, asked the question DPH, but as our supervisor, and we just really wanted to get your clarity on this and advocacy, if it's something that is in concern, that, as people who want to serve the community, right, we all, as businesses, as nonprofits, as frontline staff, one of the few things that we have left is being able to eat our food and drink water freely. And so we just were very concerned for our staff that this is something that may impact that quality of life.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much. I will follow up.
Thank you very much.
Corinne?
Corinne. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hello?
Yes,
We
go
hear
ahead.
Hear you.
Go ahead. Who's going?
Corinne.
Corinne, you're going.
Okay. Question regarding the ABC license. Okay. Restaurants are open up, and I guess we need to pay another fee if we want to serve alcohol. Anybody knows about this?
Is this new for you?
No, that's true. No, it's true. It's for the shared spaces. So if you want to serve alcohol in your shared space, you have to extend your current liquor license to that shared space. And that costs $100 by the ABC. They're not even, by the way, they're not even taking applications. They called them today. So they told me to wait.
Oh, yeah?
They told me to wait till
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, so you have to submit an application. You also have to do a diagram that shows what it's going to look like, and it's $100.
And we certainly advocate for it, but it is a state level issue.
Correct. But is this just for the COVID-19, or this is for how long? For the $100 fee? Do you know, Doug?
December 31st.
Up to December 31st?
Yep.
6 months, that means.
6 months, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. If everyone's okay, I want to go ahead and move along to the next subject. Everyone good?
Albert, I just want to say one thing. Daisy, I don't know if it would be possible, but even just the waiving of that fee, like little things really make a difference now.
But that's at the state level.
Understood. Daisy has connections where she needs to.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Okay.
Awesome, Daisy. By
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
You're adorable.
Thank you, Daisy. And thanks for Supervisor Mar.
Thanks in advance.
Thanks for all the work that you guys have been doing at City Hall. I know that you guys are flying by the seat of your pants, and it's not easy doing this. It's not easy for us, but through this type of networking right now, I think we can exchange a lot of important ideas. I know that Angie has been sitting there in her car. It looks like she's sweating bullets, I think. In San Diego right now, the lucky girl. She wants. I asked her to, despite the fact that she's having fun, to come and speak to us a few minutes about the upcoming farmers market, because that is a go. So, Angie, without further ado.
Hi. Yeah, I'm here in Santa Clarita, actually, on the way almost to LA. Yeah, so I'm happy to tell you that if all goes well, we should be launching July 5th for our Outer Sunset Farmers Market and Mercantile. It's a mixture of a mercantile and a farmers market. So we'll have local farmers and producers and food artists. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just don't know what it's like here. So it's a mixture, and but it's also a community event, and local merchants are more than welcome and encouraged to participate, because it's an outdoor open air market, and you guys are welcome to join in. Being a farmer's market, there's a whole lot of just slightly complicated rules with the health department. So there's just some bigger commitments as far as their permitting. But we're first off, local sunsetters receive 10% discount. The vendor spaces are $28 for a food-related vendor, $65 for merchants, makers, artists, and then organizations, nonprofit organizations. Actually, anybody that's going to offer an activity of some sort is only $15. And then we're also offering a $150 subsidy to help those that have to deal with the health department fees. And we're waiving sunset businesses vendor fees for the month of July. So I highly encourage you to come out and spread out if you can. I know it's hard you're focusing on your brick and mortars as well, but if you are, for whatever reason, I know that Norm of the jiu-jitsu is going to bring his classes out to the outdoor space, and Foam Tea is going to be out there. A whole variety of local businesses and some other food artisans. So we hope that you all can make it. We'll have a very comprehensive safety plan, a COVID safety plan in place. Everyone will have lots of space. And it's on 37th Avenue between Ortega and Pacheco, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I think that's all the details. For the most part, we have a website where the details are and registration is. If you're a food-related vendor, we do need you to sign up ASAP so that we can get the health department paperwork going, which are due pretty much now. So if anybody has... Oh,
what's the website, Angie?
What's that?
What's the website, Angie?
Oh, www.sunsetmercantilesf.com.
And so it's every Sunday?
Every Sunday year round. This is a full-fledged farmers market. And this is thanks to Supervisor Gordon Mar, Office of Economic Workforce Development, and you all are very involved. We're all sort of collaborating, but Supervisor Gordon Mar was pretty amazing last year, and it was able to earmark some I think add backs to help this project really boost it. And people have been asking for a farmer's market for a really long time, and we're this close to pulling it off. We do have some complications going on with, oh, surprise, surprise, the health department, but we're almost there. Yeah.
And can you say the hours again?
9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Thank you.
And what's the address again?
It's right on 37th Avenue between Ortega and Pacheco.
So it's that block where the fence where APG and NINI meets up against 37th Avenue.
Yeah. So we have the greenway on one side of us and the trees, the tree-lined street with APG and NINI schoolyard on the other side of us. Really pretty site.
And
nice
the
and
ocean.
And you got the ocean on the on the north side of the yeah. A couple of places you can see the ocean.
Wonderful. Okay. I look forward to it. I'm going to be there definitely for the opening. And
I was just going to say, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll be in San Diego later today, but I am around, available by email or phone call. Feel free to reach out at any time. Another piece of it is that I am encouraging people to get out and explore the neighborhoods. I have a lot of ideas about how to create more flow from this event into your business corridors. I don't know if I'll be able to kick off with these ideas. Things like, I don't think I'll be able to kick off. I just need to kind of get it open July 5th and then build on top of it. But I'd like to offer like little bicycle tours into the business corridors and do more collaborations, like offer, like maybe if you guys offered a farmer's market special, then we can have a board at the event that says go to such and such a place for, an offer and mention the farmer's market and get 10% off or something like that, or a farmer's market day special at so-and-so's restaurant. We want to encourage people to get out into your places. So yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Angie. Any questions? Any more questions for Angie? All right. Looks Good. Thanks for letting Angie. Thank you for having her. I think it's your kids that are showing their feet behind your head earlier.
There's my son. There's my daughter. Okay. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys. And we'll
Thank
hope
you.
you're cool with the market. And good luck, everybody. I know this is a tough time, and I hope everybody is doing okay. So thank you very much.
You're making it better, Angie. Thank you.
Oh, God.
Good trip out there.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
You and me.
There we go. Leave.
So I think a little bit was already shared and touched about shared spaces over on Daisy's talk there just a little bit. Did you have anything else you found out so far? I think you're more doing it than I am, actually. So
Yeah, so I'll talk about two pieces. One is like the individual, and I also want to talk about the group idea. And I know we have some people like, I see Dave from Riptide's on and a few other people, but I guess the first thing to say about the shared spaces is I think every merchant that has a brick and mortar should apply for it, even if you're not going to use it. You know, there's really two things you can use it for. You can reserve spaces for curbside pickup, right? So if you're doing any type of retail, you can have a space for your customers to be able to drive up to your store. Or obviously I'm a restaurant, so I'm looking to put tables out there, which is kind of expensive because you have to buy tables, you have to buy barriers, and there's quite a bit going on there. But I guess my only thing to say is I encourage you to apply because you have to wait to see if they're going to accept it anyway. And it's a really easy application process. It takes like 5 minutes. The only thing you have to do is have some insurance documents ready that name the city of San Francisco on your, on your liability insurance, and have a copy of your workers' comp insurance. But other than that, it's a pretty easy process. And that's just for you individually. It allows you to take the spaces in front of your own place. You can also, if you have a letter and you have an agreement with your neighbor, you can take a space from your neighbor if they're not using it, for example, and you want to extend a little bit past your storefront. That is also possible. And then the big thing, what I really want to talk about, is through POPs, through merchant associations, you can actually, starting, I think next week, you can start applying to block off whole streets. And so obviously in my corridor, we've been talking a lot as a group, and we would like to block off Taraval Street between 46 and 47.
Right. And I've been talking, and also with Supervisor Mar, trying to use Beachside Taraval as the test bed to see how well that works out. And I think it's the ideal spot. You've got the extra vegetation, the very interesting, unique streetscape there, plus a little parklet and everything. I think it's a great place to try this out. Dave Quinby over at Riptides has mentioned it to me as well, and I think that we should as Pops apply for that.
He had a great idea too about even putting an old L line on the tracks used for seating. You can actually. I think it was an awesome idea. They're going to complain about the tracks, but let's use the tracks, right? Let's use it to our advantage and put something really cool out there. And I know the Riptide will have music out there as well. I mean, it'll be a really awesome scene, social distance scene.
Well, I was just thinking about that we originally with OEWD, we were going to hire local musicians to play music, just to create some ambiance in certain parts of Taraval Street. And, musicians are really taking it hard right now. They have no gigs at all. And I thought it'd be good that if we can hire some local musicians to play, across the street, they can just amplify the music and people can just sit around and enjoy their food, enjoy their drinks, and just make it a real new scene again, just kind of bring us back to life. And if it goes well, we work out the kinks on that one. We can probably apply it to other blocks on Taraval that have some strong merchant activity, and just help our streets slowly reopen. We may not need to close entire streets down because the streetcar has to go by or the bus line has to go by, and it's a expensive option there. But we can maybe have our shared streets on either side of Taraval, let's say at 40th Avenue, let's say 32nd Avenue, something. Yeah, there you go, Peter. And we can create some excitement, create some community.
Peter can play.
And by the way, I'm sorry, I just want to tell you guys, for the shared streets, I asked about how much conveyance we need to provide for people that need to, just people still need to use the sidewalk. So they said that the requirement is 6 feet of sidewalk. After that, everything else we can occupy.
Yeah, you also have ADA compliance. So for those who are doing things that are new, it's definitely a gotcha. So, if you're going to put some on your curb, you may have to have a ramp or a table, your restaurant, in order to be ADA compliant. Albert, how about funding? Do you think if we do something on Taraval, what kind of funding can we get? I mean, maybe just things like barriers and things that we'll need that will help get that done. Is that something Pops can do it through the grant program, or is that something you do somewhere else?
We are not having Movies of Macapan this year, and future funding is very questionable right now, to be quite honest. However, we do have some money, and I can certainly talk with Supervisor Mar and maybe SFPD, whoever gets involved with barriers and stuff, and maybe we can negotiate a price, and then we can apply for a grant. We'll do it just like we do for the other events. It's
awesome.
a building event anyway, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing, go ahead.
Rabbi Pam?
Oh, I just had an idea bouncing off of listening to you both talk, which is going back to the idea about taking the pictures that says we're open for business. If somebody has the time and inclination to put up a Facebook page that says we're open for business, and it's like for Taraval, or however we define the neighborhood, we could put the different businesses there and then make a bunch of people administrators so that everybody can put things up and then link to it and from it, and that way one business is helping another just by virtue of people grabbing things and linking to it.
Pam, I might say that there's already a group called Sunset Strong that's pretty much doing that very thing.
Oh, great. Can you send us?
If you want to connect with Sunset Strong, go to their website. I'll put it down, and then you can actually you can list your business right there.
Great.
And regarding the streets, with the music, you have the people who live there. And there will always be one or two people who do not like the music because they, just like the people don't like the Blue Angels. So perhaps an advance notice of everybody who lives in the block gets in free or gets something, that's just a thought.
Yeah, for sure. I'm probably gonna do something as well. Like honestly, the parking situation, we're taking away parking spots for this program. And me, I'm all for parking spots. I fought for this a lot with the Taraval and the construction, but it's a different time. And I think for the residents that are there and people that live there that we're kind of taking away some parking. I mean, I know my business will do something to help them out. I will do some outreach, and I'm sure everyone in that corridor will kind of do something. We don't have a lot of residents there. We have a few. We have a few ones that complain about anything we do down there, so we're gonna have to think on the fly and how to adjust to that for sure.
Feed them for a week.
That's a lot of food, but
margaritas.
There you go.
Speaking of which, I got a notice just as a person who lives in the neighborhood that June 15th, the police are going to start to ticket again. And I wonder, our synagogue is closed, so we don't have a reason to put it up, but for businesses that are going to be open, maybe put up a sign or, just get the message out on some flyers, because that's a community service and people will appreciate it because you're saving them $74 and every time they.
That's a good idea. Okay, anyone else have any comments on Beachside shared streets?
Actually, I have a comment. Hi there, it's Annie over at Chow's. How are you guys? Hi. So, same comment about shared spaces. Our primary concern is really the safety for patrons on Taraval, so to speak. So it'd be nice, I don't know if Daisy can get it back to Supervisor Mar, but just on tips on, how to implement safety protocol, just help from the city as far as, maybe like traffic dividers, things that's a little bit harder for us small business owners to have access to, like Doug mentioned, just some barriers, dividers, or signage even. I think Pam mentioned that earlier, just to make sure people know, like, hey, this is not a parking spot, because many times on Taraval, people are going over 25 miles an hour. They see us parking spot, they swerve in. So it's just kind of nice for, additional assistance in regards to signage, like, hey, it's not a parking spot, this is a dining area, or, it's reserved for this X business. I think it'd be very helpful in that sense. If we can get some assistance, or even Albert, if you have any leads into, where we can get these traffic dividers. It is pretty short term, maybe up to December, maybe earlier, who knows, but it would just be nice just to get some help, some assistance in any way.
Doug has just sent.
Yeah, so I'm sharing my screen.
Yep.
So I agree. This is a huge part, and I kind of just learned about this yesterday too. But this is on the page for
Yep. I saw that.
And I mean, this is a big deal. 250 pounds of force in any direction. I mean, these are heavy barriers that are not cheap. So it's quite an investment for any business that wants to do any retail or any tables or anything out there. You're talking about, I don't know, $1,000 to $2,000 or more of investment just on traffic barriers. So for a lot of us, it's not really worth it. So I agree. I think we need some help here for sure.
Yeah, I was aware of these requirements. That's pretty substantial. I think we talked to Supervisor Mar about that.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, this sounds like equipment that they already have, and maybe we can just rent or borrow.
Exactly. The city has all these things, and for us to go out and buy it, I mean, it's
no, that doesn't make any sense at all.
I'm like, what? We're gonna put a concrete slab? I don't have a crane. What am I gonna do? Like.
I can get you one, Doug.
Can you?
All right. So yeah, let's talk to them about that so we can do our shared streets and get those type of barriers up. But Annie, that was a very good question. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions out there? All right. Well, I think
I posted a question on chat. So basically, a Chinese-speaking owner, I'm live tweeting this on the WeChat Chinese group, business groups, and they are asking, their business is not good, it's dying, but they wanted to somehow sign up to be a provider for senior meal delivery agencies, maybe something like greatplates.org or something like that, or do you know of any of those services that can help them add more to-go or delivery businesses?
So I have the link for Great Plates to be able to sign up to offer the food. Can I put that link in the chat? Is that helpful?
Oh yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Pam.
Sure, let me grab it.
I should just have.
I'm recording this, so I'll be sending this entire meeting out with the minutes.
Appreciate it.
So folks, as I reach for it, and I will post it in the chat, I want to tell you that on our website, it's b'nai-emunah.sf.org. I'll post that too. There's a page in the COVID section where we list financial resources for businesses, for individuals, and just wherever we see something, we add it. So everybody's welcome to use it. It's public. And if you know of anything you think we should add, just please let me know.
All right. In closing,
Sorry, I have one little thing since we're kind of putting stuff. I just put something in the chat. One thing we're doing at our restaurant, speaking of giving away free food for a week.
Helpkitchen.org.
Yeah, so we're involved in that. So essentially, we give out, anyone who needs it, send it to your friends or what have you. But we give out $8 meals, like burritos and tacos, as part of the helpkitchen.org. So I know a lot of people might just need a little help from time to time, and it's a nice way to come in and have our food. And it's basically sponsored by some rich donors that will go unnamed in the tech world. So check it out.
Awesome. Okay. All right. All right. So anyway,
thank you.
I'm gonna wrap this up, everybody. Thank you. We're about at the 8:30 hour, but just want to say to you guys as a reminder, so for opening up, do have a huddle with your business crews, and talk about the hygiene requirements and protocols so that everyone's on board. If you can, get hand sanitizers and make sure that everyone cleans the areas and especially the most used areas thoroughly and often in your workspaces for the foreseeable future right now. And there are people that can work from home, and please work from home as if you're not tired of being at home enough already. And also, their PPE equipment, and just be ready for business to go. And I would also say too, it's like maybe even get like extra masks for. I've had customers come into my store and don't bring a mask or something, and and that's a requirement now. So you could charge them, or you could just do it as a goodwill thing and say, hey, got your mask here or something. I just want you to be safe and have a good experience in my business. So keep that in mind, okay? And we'll see how this goes. I actually think that this was the screen didn't blow up, and it was I would call this a success. So next one, we'll try to do it on the first Thursday again next month, and we'll just go from there. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Albert. Thank you.
Thanks, Albert.
Thank all of you. Just made
Good job.
All right, guys. I'll
Good night.
get into the meeting.
Take care.
Guys out there, I'll visit your businesses. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Good job, you guys.
Bye now.
Good
Come
night.
on.